Ladies love the skin.
Ow.
Bring it a little bit closer. The good skin, that is. That's why having a proper skincare routine is very important, and you need to feel the Lateej. The process is so easy, just 4 steps. You got your daily face wash. That's going to clean your face up nice and right. You got your exfoliator scrub. That's going to open up your pores. You got your AM moisturizer with the SPM 20, which is going to protect you from the sun. You also got your PM moisturizer, which is going to make sure your skin is protected throughout the night. Tej has tons of reviews from dedicated customers across the world. I know I said a lot, but it's okay, because guess what? It comes with an instruction card to explain to you in detail what to do morning and night. And because Tej is a sponsor, they're offering my family 30% off along with a free gift. Just click that link that's in the description and feel the Tej.
Sexual integrity starts before sex. Sexual integrity starts before sex. Here goes that clip.
The conversations men have with women in the courting phase, I feel like are super surface a lot of times. To a large degree, we still deem being able to finally have sex with a woman as the carrot at the end of the string. Before we even get to that point, there's certain questions that we need to be asking to protect not only her heart, also our own heart, to really be able to make accommodations for and understand if we have the capacity to navigate a relationship or something more substantial than just sex with this woman. I'm approaching somewhere around 1,600 different clients. Most of my clientele has been women. I've heard so many stories of sexual abuse that women have had to endure before women are 5 years old. Family members, friends of the family, people they have continued to have to grow up around. In a lot of these situations, there is no punishment. You may not find out about this until we deep into a relationship and it rears its head in a way where it's now affecting the union. Before we get to the point of having sex, the conversation has to be opened up. Have you ever been sexually abused, emotionally sexually accosted? It's a lot of different layers to it beyond just penetration. This is one of the first and earliest attempts you can make towards showing a woman that you had a capacity to think on a level where you'll hold her safety at the forefront. So you got to gauge within yourself, do you got the capacity to walk her through that?
All right. No, you gave me that. Shit. Not it. Who want to Trev? You want to switch? Nah, man, that was heavy. That was heavy. I'm going first, or I'm facilitating.
So however you want to do it.
All right. Definitely passing the torch on that one, but we're gonna start with Shan because naturally he has the most experience with this sort of thing. So what are your thoughts, Shan? All right. You're the wisest of us by gray. By gray and beard, you are the wisest of us. So we need,
no, I just means I'm the more stressed.
I'm
that too. I'm not necessarily the wisest. I'm just the most stressed. Sexual integrity starts before having sex. So there's 2 people that we'll be talking to. The guy that likes this girl and can potentially see that there could be something in the future long term with her. And then the guy that just wants to hit it. Sometimes the guy that just wants to hit it turns that relationship or he ends up liking her. But for the guy that likes a girl, for the guy that's interested, you know, he met her, maybe he known her for a little while. To be honest with you, I agree. You should have those tough. One of the things that a lot of people don't want to do is they don't want to have tough conversations with people because they're worried about losing them too soon. You shouldn't ask about body count. You shouldn't ask about was your father in your life. You shouldn't ask all these taboo questions, because man, her answers may say something that will scare me away, and I like her too much and I ain't hit it yet. Or, she may run away because she thinks I'm interrogating her. But as I've always said, if you paid attention to the red flags early, imagine how much time you'd save. So what the brother is saying is, listen, if you were to basically ask, learn, inform yourself on a lot of these sexual integrity questions. Have you been assaulted? Well, women grab her pearls. Well, nobody's ever asked me, why do you care? You know why I care? Because I care about the integrity of our relationship. If you're wondering, or you think that that's too prying, or I'm prying in on your personal life, or I shouldn't be asking that this soon, well, then maybe that's because you're not used to a man that's interested in you the way I am. But if you understand that I'm interested in you and I want the best for our relationship, I need to know everything now so I can prepare for that. It doesn't mean I'm gonna run away. It doesn't mean that I'm gonna throw you away. It doesn't mean that I'm gonna be like, oh man, that's too much for me. I gotta run for the hills. But it also equips me with the information that I need, so I know how to navigate, so I know how to talk to you. Women always want this space. You got to give me space so I can feel. So how can I do that if you are afraid of, being in a house with a man all by yourself, because the last time you did that, or you did that when you were younger, you were attacked? Or how can I know that we can watch a certain type of movie together on Netflix that I don't know is going to trigger you, because I never asked you about your history? Fellas, in my personal opinion, you should ask these women these sexual questions that are typically taboo, so you can establish a solid foundation for the future of a woman that you're really interested in, and that brings the integrity out of it. Now, what do you ask specifically? How do you ask specifically? Now, me, I'm everybody, I'm not as smooth as Marcus. I'm just not as smooth as Marcus. I'm probably not as smooth as Hink. I'm just, I'm a drill sergeant, so I'm gonna just go out there just like, yo, this is what it is, and I ask right off the top. But just understand, fellas, that you got to make sure that she kind of knows that you want the best for both of y'all. And if you were to ask those things, not worried about what comes, not worried about if you're going to lose her, or or she's going to run from you, or you're going to run from her, then you will be saving yourself a whole lot of time, headache. Well, as Coach Greg Adams say, meat, money, energy, attention, and time. You'll be saving a whole lot of that. So, Trigger Mike, before you hit it, guys, before you invest your time and your money, get those hard, taboo, sexual questions. Remember, everything, what Oscar Wilde said it best, everything in the world is about sex except for sex. Sex is about power. Get those questions out early to save yourself some time.
All right. I want to actually defer to Nelson. Now, for those of you Nelson, I want you to let them know who you are. And I have an ask. So this is a particularly heavy topic, but I think we can cover a lot of ground on it. So if we are getting too off topic, I want you to keep us grounded and factual on the impact that this particular topic, just can actually have. I want you to keep us grounded on it. So please share with us your expertise and your thoughts on this, and then we're gonna go to someone else after that.
Yeah, so I'm a licensed professional counselor. So I've counseled couples, individuals on a variety of different mental health disorders, relationship issues, marriage issues, things like that. So what I would say, that question to ask them about their history, it is important, but I don't believe that men should be asking that right now. I think beyond anything, men should be getting educated on what the results of sexual abuse are. What could you possibly see in women? Because it's not always noticeable that somebody's been through something. for some women, they can become hypersexual, meaning they, within the first few dates, like they're okay with sleeping with you because they've learned psychologically that their body doesn't mean anything and it's just an act. So, that could be one person. Another woman could have learned that, like, she has triggers and she feels guilty right after. And, some of them could be sensitive to certain places, sensitive to sounds. Like you need to learn what the different results are from that before you start asking them about their history, because you also got to determine whether you're going to walk through them with it, depending on depending on how they are. Because if they're suffering from PTSD as a result of it, then you need to know what that could possibly look like. It doesn't always look the same in everyone. And, unfortunately, for some guys, they benefit off of it. Like, they form relationships based off of just how crazy this woman is in bed. She seems that she cares about me a lot. But then you start noticing issues later on down the line with, like, if you're trying to go out somewhere, you're noticing that she's overly clingy, or you noticing if you say something in a certain type of way, she interprets it in a completely different lens, like looks at things under the lens of abuse. Like, I've heard some women on some of the other shows before talk about, like, somebody could say something, a regular statement on the panel, and in their mind they start likening it and starting to use certain terminology that sounds like abuse, or sounds like somebody's a threat, or sounds like somebody's harassing them, and that could be the result of encountering something like that. So I think for men's protection, learn what sexual abuse looks like in both men and women, just so that you can cover yourself. And once you educate yourself, now once you're starting to date somebody, let that question come out organically. Because if you're trying to learn who the person is, you're trying to truly learn who the woman is, it'll come out naturally as you're talking about each other's lives. So I would start there.
Trigger, can I be a contrarian a little bit to what brother just said?
Just do it. Go ahead.
Brother Nelson, I believe that your professionalism is coming out in your response, because what I think you're asking men to do is to psychologize and clinically evaluate women and their behaviors before he gets involved. And personally, I think that's a big ask to have men to figure out and learn and pay attention to, and not come direct, but kind of evaluate and observe a woman to figure out, and hopeful that he gets it right. In addition to that, that takes time that a lot of men probably don't want to take or have. Why would you not want, especially in today's age, to just get it, just cut to the chase? I'm a cut to the chase type dude. I hear what you're saying, because you may trigger something, or you may hurt somebody, or you may bring up something that, fine. Then so be it. She should go get therapy beforehand anyway. She shouldn't be dating if she can't deal with these kind of questions. Why are you out on the dating market looking for new people if you can't handle a question that is relevant? I mean, you had no problem with the Me Too movement. Why we can't ask these questions now? You already know the position that men are up against when it comes to dating women today. Why should men, Nelson, and well, I guess you already answered it, but I just think that in asking men to evaluate a woman damn near clinically is a bit much to ask men when they can just cut to the chase, ask the relevant questions, and go from there.
Because evaluating women clinically is something that men should do naturally, and it's something that women should do naturally. When you're getting to know somebody, you're getting to know their character. So you're getting to know their thoughts, their feelings, and their behaviors. Once you understand those three things and how those things play out in that person's life, it gives you a good indication of their personality, their style, the things that they value, and how they would interact with you. So I think on both ends, that's the one thing that we don't focus on learning. We don't, like, we look at the superficial things, we have the superficial conversations, and then as a result, we get deep into these relationships and don't get to know the true person until it's too late. So when I'm talking about evaluating them like clinically, I'm not talking about in light of like you studying their trauma and you trying to adjust yourself to walk them through or be with them through their trauma. I'm talking about having the tools as you're dating to pick up on. It's just like picking up on red flags, and it just gives you a better, I think it gives us a better understanding of who the person is that's in front of us.
All right.
Hold on, Trigger. I want to just play the video one more time.
The conversations men have with women in the courting phase, I feel like are super surface a lot of times. To a large degree, we still deem being able to finally have sex with a woman as the carrot at the end of the string. Before we even get to that point, there's certain questions that we need to be asking to protect not only her heart, also our own heart, to really be able to make accommodations for and understand if we have the capacity to navigate a relationship or something more substantial than just sex with this woman. I'm approaching somewhere around 1,600 different clients. Most of my clientele has been women. I've heard so many stories of sexual abuse that women have had to endure before women are 5 years old. Family members, friends of the family, people they have continued to have to grow up around. In a lot of these situations, there is no punishment. You may not find out about this until we deep into a relationship and it rears its head in a way where it's now affecting the union. Before we get to the point of having sex, the conversation has to be opened up. Have you ever been sexually abused, emotionally sexually accosted? It's a lot of different layers to it beyond just penetration. This is one of the first and earliest attempts you can make towards showing a woman that you had a capacity to think on a level where you'll hold her safety at the forefront. So you got to gauge within yourself. Do you got the capacity to walk her through that?
I bet. Kenny P, let's get you in on this, man. What are your thoughts on the video?
First of all, I'm kind of shaky at taking advice from a man sitting butterfly with his toes out. Just start there. But on a serious note, I think Shannon touched it. You're expecting the average man who can use common sense when approaching somebody, because I'm taking it as the sexual integrity part is for someone that you deem serious, not a jump off, not something that you just take into the short stay and having your way with. You're expecting the average man to know what to ask. Like if I look at Nelson can sit down with a woman and see triggers that we can't. He can ask certain questions that we're not schooled. We didn't get our 10,000 hours to know what to ask. And I'm a regular Joe. Most guys mess it up when they start asking questions. And then the ones, I'm only speaking for myself. You make a girl go back in her shell deeper. And then you could probably be friend zone Freddy after that when you start going for that. It's real touch and go. I get what Nelson's saying. I get what Shannon's saying. But it's the best I think an average man could do is just be honest. Okay, this is what I am. I'm asking questions. I want to know more about you because you're important. I see more than just intimacy from you. But, you know, every man sees intimacy in a woman that he's looking for. But simple questions and let her know that she's safe to open up, and you trust me with your secrets because I'm not going nowhere else with her.
Nice. I mean, I think you said what most of us were thinking. That when that video came on and homeboy was sitting butterfly style, I was like, what? What's going on here? But Trav, let's get you in on this, man. What are your thoughts on the video?
I don't see why we can't have a balance, right? I could definitely understand what Nelson was saying, how we should educate ourselves as much as we can. We're not expected to be professionals at the end of the day, but I think it's better us to at least be familiar with these characteristics. because you do run into these women, and the more prepared you are, the better off and the less likely you are to end up in a long-term situation that just ends up being toxic, right? Because I've seen both sides of it, where a woman will be completely withdrawn and she'll be withholding sex from you, not because she's using it as a reward system, but because there's a lot of trauma attached to it because of those abuses, right? And then there's also the hypersexual, right? And that seems like a dream for a man until you can't keep up. And then a lot of bad things happen too. So just assess it as much as you can. You're not going to do your 10,000 hours. That's for sure. I can understand that. But I could definitely dig what Shannon was saying too, man. Not as much cut to the chase, but you definitely want to ask these questions for sure. But it's all in your presentation, right? So you know how to fill women out, man. You talk to them when the more you, and the thing about women is sometimes you get a lot more done listening. We don't need to talk as much. I do way more listening than I ever do talking. Let them talk because they love talking. All you give them is some acknowledgement here and there. Don't judge them. Even if you're judging them in your mind, don't let them know that you're judging them, because then they'll start to withhold information. But as long as she feels like it's a safe space for you to talk, then she'll tell you everything, because like I always say, it's therapeutic for people to actually tell the truth. We don't really like lying. We lie most of the time as humans because we feel like we have to lie. And I don't think we have to lie. But you just have to be comfortable with someone, and a person would love to be around you if they're comfortable. And I'm not encouraging men to try to work through situations that they're not mentally prepared for or educated enough, but just enough for you to at least be able to identify it and also know if that's something that you want to get into, or that's more than what you're bargaining for. I'll leave it there for now.
All right, my man Hank, let's get you in there.
Well, I mean, I think what Shannon was talking about earlier was definitely for sure. I'm all for it in interrogating a woman, and you definitely want to know what really is going on, especially with something like that, something that's sensitive, but that can be very detriment to the relationship, depending on the type of man. You know, more likely a man who's not equipped to handle a situation like that, you know, he may turn his tail and run, tuck his tail and run. Another individual may could relate, because guess what? He had a family member that may have went through it, and he had to find some way somehow to coach her up or talk her through it. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's a very important thing to talk about. I could definitely agree with it. My question is, how soon would that conversation need to have? Now, I know he said before sex, but unless you get one that's all about to get down on the first night, how soon will you be willing to have that conversation? First 2 dates, maybe. I don't know, but I feel like as soon as possible, the conversation needs to be had. You gotta make sure you establish a certain level of comfortability for that woman to express that, because that's traumatic. That's very traumatic for a woman to go through something like that, and for her to share that with you. That spoke volumes about you as a person, that she feel comfortable enough. Now, whether you're a man that can handle or not, that's left to be determined. But with that situation, I think it's good to have that conversation, and to just be honest with them. Like I think Shane, you saying that too. Just be honest up front. Hey, I don't know if I can handle this. I don't know if I can deal with this, because it's not gonna be something. I mean, it could be something you about to get intimate. All of a sudden, she may tense up. She may have a flashback. She may, all of a sudden just shut down on you. You got to be willing to accept that, and again, talk her through situations like that. So it's not going to be an easy task for any man that has to deal with that, let alone be the woman that went through it.
How do you know what you're dealing with, though? Like,
You said what?
how do you know what exactly you're dealing with? If you ask that question early on, like while you're in the process of dating, and she discloses to you, yes, she has been. What do you do with that information now that you know?
Well, I think the first thing you may want to do some research on it. If I'm going to take this woman serious and I'm going to be with her, I'm ready to handle and accept and take on that responsibility. You definitely should do some research and try to be sensitive and ask more questions, but don't make it too enforceful or forceful with it. Just be sensitive to her time, because she's already told you, but she may not be ready to go into the details. So just be kind of sensitive, but you still may want to ask, well, where did this happen? You don't say it happened. She went out to a nightclub. Well, I know we're not going to that nightclub no more, because I don't want to do anything to trigger her in that situation. So that, as well as, like I said, do research on what she went through. Now, I'm not saying go look at her court case and all of that, unless she decides she wants to, share that with you. But definitely do some research and get knowledge on what she's dealing with, and maybe check on YouTube, maybe some other cases that went through it and how they was able to handle it. Because, she might be still in therapy, and she might say, do you mind going to therapy with me on one of these sessions where, I sit around with a bunch of other people who's been victim of sexual harassment or whatever the case may be. You got to be willing to do all of those things. You just got to be open to that if you're ready to handle a woman who's dealt with that type of situation. That's just my opinion, Nelson.
Yeah, no.
So Nelson,
yeah.
No, it's Shan. Real quick. I've owned 80 something cars since I was 16. I think I'm at like 84 different cars, right? New, mainly old school, low riders. I used to drag race. When buying a car that I really like, I would prefer the previous owner to let me know if the transmission is slipping on third gear when it warms up because the solenoid is going bad. And if I like that car and I want this particular car, because that's what I've been looking for, I like how it looks, I've been wanting one, informing me that the transmission is having some issues. I may not know anything about transmissions, but I'll still purchase the car if I like the car enough. And then I'm informed as to what I need to work on, learn about, go educate myself on, or go find a mechanic that can fix it for me. Now, I think what I'm saying to you is, what you're asking us to do is become good mechanics to identify a bad transmission while you're test driving. You may not want to ask the owner, how the engine. You may not want to ask those questions, or you don't need the Carfax, because we should become better mechanics and be able to hear that knock or identify that slip, or know to let the car warm up and drive for at least 5 miles to discover if the transmission is going to slip on you or not. And then you can address it at that time. And I'm simply saying, why don't we just ask the owner flat out, hey, I really like this car and I'm probably going to buy it anyway, but is there anything I should know? So I can be well aware and prepared. So when I do, I won't take a trip I won't take a trip to Tahoe to go snowboarding. And next thing you know, we didn't broke down on the side of the road because I discovered something later that I wish I knew before we took this trip.
So let me ask the question along those same lines. If I decide I want to buy this car and they disclose to me, like, let's say you bought a car and they disclose to you that it's got some transmission problems. With you with that knowledge, when you're driving that car, what are some of the tells or the signs that that car actually has a transmission problem? Like, what would you see? Like, what would happen?
What I would pay attention to what the previous owner exactly told me, and I probably wouldn't drive it too far or too hard until I make sure that gets fixed, or at least start working on it.
But do you know any?
But if I don't know, I'm gonna take a trip to Vegas.
I'm on board with you knowing that there's a transmission problem, but the question is, though, if I'm just driving, like what would I feel in the car? How would the car operate that would tell me there's a possible issue with the transmission?
It wouldn't pick up speed.
Okay.
Or it slip. When you expect to go from second to third, it don't, and it catches, and you get in an argument trying to get to fourth gear, and you're like, what the fuck? Where'd this come from?
Okay, so you know some of the things to expect as a result of
a normal operating car problem. So I know how a normal operating car should run.
Perfect. So I'm only simply saying that in knowing that getting a person to disclose the trauma that they've been through, let's at least know what the symptoms are. How can we tell? Because we tend to look at it through one lens, and our minds tend to automatically go to this person clenching up, this person, you not being able to sleep with that person because whatever. I'm saying that there's a lot more to it, because some people, they might disclose to you that they've been abused, and you find out all the information about it, but you don't know, and she doesn't know how it even impacts them in their daily life. A lot of women don't know how abuse has impacted them in relationships, in their daily life, in their daily way of functioning. But I'm saying if we as men know what are just some of the things that we can expect, like this person might become hypersexual, this person might be hypervigilant, this person might be develop an unhealthy attachment to where they become really clingy. This person, if we ever have a fight, she gets really paranoid that I'm going to leave her now. Like, what are just, as men, knowing some of these behaviors, knowing that can relate to abuse. We don't need to know how to handle it, because as long as we see what these symptoms are, now we can say, all right, let's go to therapy and, tell the counselor, this is what I'm seeing. This is what, we're dealing with. How can you help us?
All right. So Shan, just a side question real quick. Out of those 84 cars, how many of them were acquired legally? I'm joking. We know you from Compton. That's why I'm like, 84 cars. God, I know how you got them shit. My man Marcus, man. What's going on? What you got on it?
Okay.
On mute.
Marcus with that gaming mic.
Yeah.
Glow in the dark. There you go.
Yes, sir. I think that y'all been having a great discussion on this. So I looked up something. They did a study on the amount of women who like working in the strip clubs that have been sexually assaulted. In one of the studies, it was like 100%. Yeah. They said 1 in 6 women have been sexually assaulted, and it's been reported in their lifetime. So I think there's the hypersexuality. I think that's a real thing. And in my interactions with women, I've kind of noticed that trend too, with women who've been hypersexual, like immediately. If you have a chance to talk to them for a while, it usually turns out that there was some form of that type of trauma within their background at some period of time. And it's really hard for the average person. Like, because I kind of agree with Shan and Nelson, right? Because what I've been noticing is that some men nuance concepts and being able to communicate without being offensive. It's a hard line for some people to walk, because they in some way view telling the truth as I have to be offensive because I'm being direct at you so you understand my exact intent. And they don't mean to be offensive, or they're not trying to hurt the person, but they believe that's the best way to deliver information. And in doing so, you end up hurting or triggering the person. I think that what Nelson is saying is about figuring out ways to recognize signs. And I think y'all highlighted the most common too, which would be the hypersexuality and being extremely like vigilant or seemingly hate men. Sometimes when the women come on the panels, I don't have a lot of smoke for them, because I kind of feel like we may be looking at somebody that's a victim behind one of these incidents. and they require like extreme amounts of care when in dealing with that, because you don't want to spiral them to the point that maybe they commit self-harm, right? Because that's a real thing. um I had a family member who dealt with something to this extent, so I have a soft spot specifically because I watched the trauma that she went through in trying to recover from the incident, right? um when I talk about men being able to work with every woman, but it depends on the man, that's one of the things I'm highlighting, because it doesn't have to necessarily be sexual assault, but the trauma that she's experienced, you may not be equipped to deal with in order to walk her into a good place. Uh, like Hank said, you should feel proud if she feels like sharing that with you, because some level of trust has been built. And if you're not competent to handle that level of openness in a way that does not trigger her or make the situation worse, because I think one of the worst things that could happen is she open up about that, and then you be like, oh, you was assaulted, I'm out. Like, that would be a problem. You know what I'm saying? So it's a tricky line that got to be walked in order to do it tactfully while getting the answers as soon as possible without causing that person more harm than the initial incident. um yeah, I think there's different slots and ways we interact with women too. So you got the women that you just casually dating and it's just sexual, and the women that you are actually interested in having a real relationship with. um Ironically, the people who are going to casually date you and just have sex are probably the people who have that type of trauma for the most part, in a large scale. um yeah, it's a really sensitive thing. My heart go out to everybody that's been a victim of any of these these extremely deplorable actions. And yeah, my heart go out to you. uh as men, you kind of got to develop different styles and techniques in talking to people. And I know it's not for everyone, or everyone doesn't seem to have the same thing, but part of the leadership thing is communication. So we've got to learn different communication styles. I know it does not seem fair, but it really is what it is if we're going to interact with women and lead them anywhere. And that's my thoughts.
All right, James.
Hey, what's up? How y'all doing, brothers? What's up, Lapeef? What's going on?
What up? What up?
Hey, so just to add some more context, because I think all y'all brothers made some great points. One thing I like to add is sometimes we got to be careful with these conversations too, because some people like to be the victim, so they like to put off their trauma on people, so you can kind of have a soft spot for them, so they can try to manipulate you. So we also have to, be mindful of that, and also too, anybody you get in a relationship with, you're gonna have to help them through some type of trauma. Sometimes people almost know they got trauma and they just acting up and doing different things, and then you can see it like, hey, you don't gotta act like that for the situation, right? So I think it is good that a person that be open with you with their trauma. And you can kind of, because you'll be able to help them out more, because men, we like to problem solve all day, right? So if I know what you're going through now, I can look at different things that I can see where I can help you out. Or even with my wife, it was certain things that she wasn't really didn't understand what was going on, but I had already went through it too as well, so I was able to help her through some of the same similar situations I went through. So us as couples and trying to make this thing work, we got to do the hard labor to make that person the best person that they can be, and then eventually it'll pay off at the end, because you'll have a better person, a better relationship. And I think a lot of this confusion in our society, especially in our community, will go away. So
Nice. All right, man. I'm gonna give my thoughts on it real quick. Just like James said, I like a bit of what everybody has said, and what I will say is that it sounded like for most of the discussion, we were talking about what individual men can do. So it sounded like a individual discussion, but I think this is also a community discussion. To Nelson's point, just a little bit, it's a community discussion. There is a way where we can create a community of men who are more emotionally intelligent and seek to solve these issues beforehand. So it doesn't just happen with the son. It doesn't just happen with the bachelor. It happens with the father, the husband, so on and so forth. We are teaching these skills. This is what raising a husband looks like in the first place. Competent, emotionally available, emotionally intelligent. Those type of men have been here and have always been on earth. So we can start to teach and start to create waves and sectors of men that know how to interact in this particular way, because it's really all about you. Most of us, I think, on this panel are married men, and you realize that you have to guard your own space, guard your own zone. It is extremely hard job to find a woman that will protect your legacy. All of all of y'all spoken tonight is that's essentially what we're doing. Figuring out what trauma a person has to see if we are alike in value systems. If this person believes in what I believe, are they gonna cut and run as soon as things get hard? So, as we search for common decency in our area and search for a like-minded woman, we can absolutely create males that are young boys, young men that know how to be a little bit more emotionally intelligent as a community. We can raise them up to be boys that go out and search for these value systems in women. And that's really all I got on it. Lapeef, I'll pass it back to you.
And I just add a couple more things too. I think it's important for us to become self-aware, because I don't know how you're gonna tell somebody else they got a problem when you got a problem as well. So you want to be self-aware, because both of y'all could just be toxic and they could just be circling around within their relationship, and it's just not leading up to no solutions. I think that men should have like deeper discussions. I was kind of told that somebody brought it to my attention, and I don't think I was going deep with conversation because I just really didn't care. I didn't really care to get to really know people on that type of level. But as you get older and you're looking to settle down, that's one of the important things is you need to have deeper discussions to kind of figure out if this is a right fit. I think Hank made a good point as well. And I think Shan, as far as some men just may not want to deal with it. It was a young lady that I was dating, and she was already exhibiting some unusual behavior. And I said, look, I'm not trying to heal you. I'm not trying to fix you. I need you to come already ready. And I don't know what that looked like. I'm not asking for somebody to be perfect, but when you do notice like some red flags and some rare occasions, then you may not just have the time or the capacity to deal with it, depending on who you are. You got other things to focus on, and that's just not your expertise. And then you also got to ask some questions too, because you'd be surprised how many women prey on little boys. So it's not just men that prey on little girls, but you have some women that do that as well. And Trev made a good point as far as listening. We do have to do a lot more listening, but sometimes some people are not gonna speak. So you have to initiate the conversation and initiate those questions in order to get some of those answers. I think it is important too, because there may be a situation where you can't connect with that person because of their trauma. And so if you don't like identify it, then you may just be there wasting your time. Somebody made a good point too, as far as if the person is in therapy. I don't really know. I guess it all depends on what I'm seeing in that moment, because she could be in therapy, but the therapy may not be helping her, or she may not be intentional like in those sessions. So just because somebody in therapy, because people like to say, I've been in therapy, I'm in therapy. Well, that's to be determined. I have to be able to spend a little bit of time with you to like your therapist assess you, but now it's time for me to assess if you're going to be a right fit for my life and moving forward, if I want to invest my time in you. And I saw in the comments as well that even if you ask them on the front end, who's to say that they're going to tell you the truth? So I think Nelson made a good point as far as you being able to identify or at least have some knowledge of it's just really boundaries. It's really boundaries. And I do think if people should get educated on some of these things, because it happens more than we think. I think everybody has some form of trauma or either they dealt with something. I mean, that's what life is. Life is about experiences. And so and that's all we've been doing our life is experiencing. And I highly doubt that somebody has never gone through a bad experience. So anybody that's gone through a bad experience, there's some form of trauma, and there's levels to it. So, but you won't know just by sitting there looking at them. So that's when you do need to have those discussions. And to Shannon's point, and I land my plane with this. I think cars are a little bit different. I think cars are a little bit different. Yes, I do want to know like the Carfax on it, but people shift, man. People change. People go through things, and so even though that Carfax may look good, it don't necessarily mean that it's good now. So that's why you have to be able to like identify and just be in the moment. You know, as men, we should be able to assess the spaces that we are in, mentally and physically. We need to be able to assess like, how safe the environment is, and then we got to be able to assess our peace. You know, like we can't go out there and be productive if we got like too many distractions. So I'm gonna go ahead and land it with that.
I just want to add this. It's ironic that using the car example, right? Shan and Hank knew how to assess a transmission slipping and all the things to look for. Because they can do that, it's a good chance that they avoid those cars specifically because they can do that. When you talk about the data market, which makes it frustrating, is the people who have the skill set to identify and possibly fix it usually risk avoid prior to getting into that position. And the people who don't know how to fix the trans usually buy the car with the trans. I think that has a lot to do with why people wind up with so many relationship issues, because the most equipped are not going to the least equipped. They're finding other well-equipped people and kind of pushing everybody into this sphere of rotating their trauma back and forth and making it worse. Actually, I think therapy needs to just be something that we make common. Like, even if you don't feel like anything is wrong with you, maybe just a check-in to just like an oil change, just to check up, because the more like I was talking earlier, and I was saying, one of the things that I notice about people is the things that they complain about usually will tell me more about the issue that they're experiencing and not. And I gain that by being around the space a lot now. And so like I can interact with people and I can see things coming because I've just dealt with some craziness, right? And I'm like, okay, these personality traits are similar to this. Just avoid that. But there are other people who will fall right into that trap because they can't avoid it, because they can't pick those things up. Mm-hmm.
It's like getting oil change.
It's like getting oil maintenance. Preventive maintenance, absolutely.
All right. You guys just tuned in. Welcome to King Talk. Hit that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Now, trying to get into our next topic, which is, do men blame women too much? I'm gonna play this clip and hand over to Marcus.
I hear, women need to do this, that, and the third. Men set the tone, always finding new ways to create their desire for newness and fun and entertainment. Girls just want to have fun. So with that being said, when that energy is not bridled, when it's not given boundaries and barriers to make it more streamlined, so it's not chaotic, it can turn into them being disoriented mentally. They have so much ability to create, a lot of responsibility comes with that. And sometimes just the basic things can go unchecked because they're literally creating worlds at whim. All the things we want to complain about with women, they not doing what they need to do. If you doing what you got to do as a man, treating your body right, eating well, being a man of your word, spending time with God to maintain your peace, going to the therapy sessions, taking care of your family, setting the tone is in your decision making as well. End up bad-mouthing women and not realizing, I chose this. But if you choose a woman who has done enough work in her healing journey to be capable of making shifts, of recognizing where she needs work, whatever you put into motion, her energy will start to bleed into that direction and she will follow suit. There have been so many different things that my wife has been able to level up in. She was able to just watch how I move and run with it to the degree I ain't have to tell her, hey, you need to do this. The feminine energy, when it feels safe, confident in the tone that the man is setting because he's honoring himself so well, it's a natural flow over to the direction that he's walking in.
Can you replay that one more time? No? Yes, man.
Yeah, I can. I thought you was joking.
No, I'm dead ass.
When I hear, women need to do this, that, and the third, men set the tone, always finding new ways to create their desire for newness and fun and entertainment. Girls just want to have fun. So with that being said, when that energy is not bridled, when it's not given boundaries and barriers to make it more streamlined, so it's not chaotic, it can turn into them being disoriented mentally. They have so much ability to create, a lot of responsibility comes with that. And sometimes just the basic things can go unchecked because they're literally creating worlds at whim. All the things we want to complain about with women, they not doing what they need to do. If you doing what you got to do as a man, treating your body right, eating well, being a man of your word, spending time with God to maintain your peace, going to the therapy sessions, taking care of your family, setting the tone is in your decision making as well. End up bad-mouthing women and not realizing, I chose this. But if you choose a woman who has done enough work in her healing journey to be capable of making shifts, of recognizing where she needs work, whatever you put into motion, her energy will start to bleed into that direction and she will follow suit. There have been so many different things that my wife has been able to level up in. She was able to just watch how I move and run with it to the degree I ain't have to tell her, hey, you need to do this. The feminine energy, when it feels safe, confident in the tone that the man is setting because he's honoring himself so well, it's a natural flow over to the direction that he's walking in.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so I 100% agree with dude. But here's the thing. This is back to that point I was just making about you. I see the face, Chan, so I'm gonna come to you first. I 100% agree with him because yeah. So because when I talk about relationships and I'm operating from this mindset that if you're who you're supposed to be, the object of losing you will make people like fall in line and not operate in a negative or a counterproductive space. And by doing so, you set the parameters from which your life lives, or you model the way you'd like to see your life or shape. And naturally the women will fall into that. So that's the main reason why I always focus on men, because I believe women will be fixed in proximity. So I think he's saying the same thing. But Shan, which part of this do you disagree with on the video?
Pretty much all of it.
Itemize it, please.
Listen, in professional sports, the coach is fired if the team ain't winning. But sometimes the players fucking suck and you got to trade them out. If we're going to say that, well, it's the man, he sets the tone, and the man, he takes responsibility, and he's supposed to have this identity, he's supposed to do all of this, then that way, what we're doing is we are removing accountability and culpability for anything going wrong in a relationship, because he was supposed to be able to identify it. He was supposed to be able to pick the right woman. He was supposed to be able to take the high road. He ain't supposed to have no feelings. He's supposed to just deal with it. And I'm sick of that, because that's what men have been doing. Taking, you the man, so you're supposed to, when I go off, you're supposed to just be calm. And he just calms me down, even though I'm disrespecting him. So you got an unruly, loudmouth motherfucker that's going off, and I'm supposed to coach that team into greatness. No, sometimes, and rightfully so today, bad players need to be traded out. It ain't got nothing to do with the coach. The coach has been, sometimes some people are uncoachable. So to say that men blame women too much, how about maybe men are just blaming where the problem is? It's just that simple. And what men have been doing is taking all the blame and all the arrows on his back to cover for somebody who shouldn't be covered. That's just, I get it, man. You the man. You the man. You men are supposed to just be the men, and that's just what you do. A real man. I've heard it all, bro, and I've seen it all, and I've watched men head straight to an early grave because he just wouldn't say nothing. Hey, man, just it's just pick and choose your battles. It ain't even worth it. Just watch it. Let her just turn into Charlie Brown's teacher. Don't even listen to all that shit. And I'm like, no. How about you tell her what the fuck she did? Nah, it ain't worth it. Just I'm a man, so it's my fault in one way or the other. No, I don't subscribe to that, man.
Okay,
so I don't necessarily believe that men blame women too much. I believe that women blame men when men are wrong, And I would like men to blame women when women are wrong.
Okay, I appreciate the dialogue. So categorically, let me see. The first thing was, I had a question for you. Quick question: do you believe men are leaders?
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe leaders hold the ultimate share of accountability?
No.
Can you explain that?
Well, there's a thing called consent of the governed.
Mhm.
And so what happens is, being a leader, I have employees that work for me. I've been in leadership positions pretty much all my adult life, ran organizations, built churches. I know what leadership is.
Mhm.
I just fall into it. Ask JR, even when we were in Atlanta, I see a problem, I'm gonna fix it.
Mhm.
Nevertheless, just because I'm in charge doesn't necessarily mean that, one, I'm the only person infallible.
Mhm.
It's your responsibility. The CEO, I may take the responsibility, but it's not necessarily my fault.
Mhm.
So it may be my responsibility to turn this company over and make sure my shareholders is doing well, and make sure that we're making money year over year. But it's also my responsibility to get rid of bad employees that's not doing the company right. And that's part of the leadership as well. Now, there's a growing argument. You shouldn't fire anybody. Just move them into a position that's better suited for them. Lower their hours. You don't have to fire them. Just drop them down to 5 hours a week. Make them want to quit on their own. Or why don't we just shift them out with somebody who's better suited for that position? Now, if I continue, if my decisions that I'm moving people around still turns out to be, a failing company, then okay, then at that point, that's the case. But understand something: when things go wrong, you fire who needs to be fired. You get rid of who you need as a CEO, as the person in charge that has to speak to the shareholders and the board of directors. I still fired that entire department because that entire department screwed up. As Steve Jobs called it, the PDR, the person directly responsible. When Apple Maps went bad, I think on iOS 8 or something like that, back in the iPhone 6, and the maps were sending people all over the place, they fired the entire map department. They didn't get rid of Tim Cook. They didn't get, they didn't get rid of the CEO. The CEO had to make a decision to get rid of the problem. So no, it's not always my fault. I may be responsible, but it's not necessarily my fault.
Okay, so the vetting phase is the portion where you do the most hiring and firing. That's the initial process of the relationship. If somebody makes it past that initial interview or that initial courting stage, then you should have identified, not you specifically, but you as in the person that's a leader should have identified character traits or abilities you believe you can mold and put into whatever direction within that company that's necessary. Then there's a performance plan before you terminate that person. There's several steps. It's an easy clockwork sliding scale. So to build a successful team, you do have to get people out of there, right? But that we should be able to, which goes back to what Nelson was saying earlier, in a position of leadership, we should be able to identify these things as quickly as possible. I forget the term you used when you were talking about getting what was it, meat or something? Money, energy, something.
Money, energy, attention, and time. But I agree with that. Yes, we should be able to, as a leader, as a boss, as a person in charge, as the commander, you should be able to identify these things as quickly as possible. But that doesn't necessarily mean immediately, and it certainly doesn't necessarily mean at the hiring phase, because people are actors. I know people that are Oscar award-winning actors and will present themselves as one thing until they get comfortable in that position. How many people start a job and is gung-ho and is super on time and gets all the reports done all just to get past the probation period, and then suddenly they're always late. They take fucking hour and a half lunches when it's only supposed to be 45 minutes. They reports is half-ass done. And it's like, well, what happened to the person that I hired? What happened to the person that I brought on to this team? Where's that energy at? Well, they didn't got comfortable. That paycheck started getting good. What do you do? Well,
no, I was going to ask, in a relationship or dealing with women, how often do you think that that's the case?
Oftentimes, brother.
Like 50%, 60%, 80%, 90%.
I would say it's on par with the divorce rate, 60%, because people will present themselves, and we call it the representatives, a woman and men. But in this case, this King Talk, women will present themselves. They will show you their best representative in the dating phase. She'll suck you, she'll fuck you, she'll cook for you, she'll do all these things until she don't have to. Then all of a sudden, well, you picked her. Yeah, I know, but goddamn, that's not who I married. I married somebody else.
You went down a wormhole with this. Women don't want to be led today. You use the term leadership. That's an anomaly with most women today. They do not want to be led. They give you a list of requirements that they want you to do. They want you to tuck your tail and handle them with kid gloves. You have to have the right FICO score, the right amount of money, the right amount of what they feel is security. You do not dictate what most women got rights now to tell you that you ain't. And then you have to stand up there and accept it. And if you stand up and fight for yourself, you have other men that are complicit that tell you, yo, chill out.
Yeah, they'll tell you blaming women too much.
You got to be nice. You got to give them hot chocolate and marshmallows. I'll run with that all month. You're talking about leadership. Most women do not want to be led. It's an anomaly when you find something. Find a good woman that is open to be like, you know what? I'm going to trust you. I'm going to take that leap of faith. I'm going to do it biblically with you, because you may not have everything, but there's so much requirements on other women that make those women hard to find. They're like unicorns. It ain't easy out here. The pickings is slim. So when you ask, leadership, and then you start going down this wormhole with allegories, we not reading Old Man in the Sea. This thing's supposed to be simple. Like you playing some Marvin Gaye and some old vinyl. You can't even talk to a woman. Listen, I don't want you to be out of order. I just want to love you. Stop putting so much requirements on me. You think me saying leading you? I'm putting my life on the line. That's a social contract for every man on this panel. For women that like us and don't like us. Or we will be looked at as cowards. Come on. Most women, let's keep it frank. Most women do not know what that word is, and they look at it as a dirty word like F-U-C-K.
Yeah, I categorically
easy out here.
Yeah, I disagree. From what I have seen, experienced, and observed from most of the women, they actually do want to be led. But
Marcus, you gave an anomaly the other day with clout of how your woman treats you, and we said line.
I'm not talking about my woman.
We said line up 10 men that would do what your woman did for you. And you know what you said? I agree with you. Ain't too many do for me like my wife would do for me.
You said line up 10 men to do what my wife
line
would
up.
do.
You was boasting with clout of how your woman
Boasting?
went out her way when she was dealing with your birthday or whatever she was celebrating. She was celebrating you. And I said line up 10 men that get that same type of treatment. Y'all couldn't, but y'all stood strong that y'all got different type of women. I said, so y'all got anomalies. I remember saying that to you in clout.
So this goes back to the initial premise of what we think that acceptable to get past the probationary period of dating is. As men, you're ultimately in charge of your entire life. You, as to the most part, especially when it comes to relationships and the things you can directly interact with and control. And in doing so, you have the ability to remove or accept, to input or exput, to push away or to pull towards. If you would like to be treated a specific way, then you should only allow those people past that barrier. And if you can't find those type of people, then you should be single until you do. But there's a thing about law of attraction, right? If you allow the things that occurred previously to taint the overall general view, you will only start to view everyone from that lens. And then it will be extremely hard to find the people that would pass by the gate, because they'll be off put by the energy that's being put out. I know a lot of people don't believe in energy and things that aren't tangible, that you can't measure without specialized tools, but they exist, bro.
I believe in energy. What I just gave you was passion regarding the thing that you talked about with leadership. That's different than how I interact with females that I'm interested in. You have to be able to adapt in a given situation. There's a lot of women that check for me, and I'm not boasting like that understands that, oh, he got a subtle side. He knows how to treat a woman. But what I will not tolerate is somebody just trying to sell likes and get more clients, pandering for women. That's exactly what he was doing. He was pandering for women that, you know, they can't be checked. The majority of women that you see out here, boy, your family, is not the same. And
So I think we may have watched two different videos, because I clearly heard him say that the men are allowing things to skate that they should have checked. He wasn't talking about not checking something. He was talking about checking it extremely early. He was saying that we give people passes and then we allow them to move forward without addressing those things that become issues that later on blow up. He said everything but allow her to skate.
no.
Please replay the video.
He said he put the blame, he put the onus on us.
It is on us to not allow them to skate. Replay the video, please, JR. And you pause. Please pause it where I'm about to explain, because I clearly heard him say address that stuff early. Don't allow it to go nowhere.
I hear, you know, women need to do this, that, and the third. Men set the tone. Always finding new ways to create the desire for newness and fun and entertainment. Girls just want to have fun. So with that being said, when that energy is not bridled, when it's not given boundaries and barriers to make it more streamlined, so it's not.
He said you have to create boundaries for that energy. You're going to have to keep playing.
Okay,
But
so what he did was give you your part. There was more to that video.
Yeah.
So
All right, keep playing.
Argument. I know what he said.
All right,
I
keep
heard
playing.
that part.
Not chaotic. It can turn into them being disoriented mentally. They have so much ability to create. A lot of responsibility comes with that. And sometimes just the basic things can go unchecked because they're literally creating worlds at whim. All the things we want to complain about with women, they not doing what they need to do. If you doing what you got to do as a man, treating your body right, eating well, being a man of your word, spending time with God to maintain your peace, going to the therapy sessions, taking care of your family, setting the tone is in your decision making as well. End up bad-mouthing women and not realizing, I chose this. But if you choose a woman who has done enough work in her healing journey to be capable of making shifts, of recognizing where she needs work, whatever you put into motion, her energy will start to bleed into that direction and she will follow suit. There have been so many different things that my wife has been able to level up in. She was able to just watch how I move and run with it to the degree I ain't have to tell her, hey, you need to do this. The feminine energy, when it feels safe, confident in the tone that the man is setting because he's honoring himself so well, it's a natural flow over to the direction that he's walking in.
All right, do you still think that's what he said?
Yeah,
he didn't. Marcus. He didn't say what you said. He said.
Oh my God. Y'all didn't hear this man say he was talking about boundaries and discipline for himself. And by him setting those things, he creates a tone that his woman falls into naturally, and she starts to behave better because
let me get on this for y'all take the whole damn
thing. I'm with you, Marcus, on that one.
Like, y'all don't hear that?
He did not say what you said. He said, Marcus. I listened to it intently. I didn't hear it the first time. But
I wasn't speaking verbatim. I paraphrased.
You said that after he's supposed to check it early.
Yeah, he said we let things go unchecked. That was him saying that.
Let James in there because James said he agreed with Marcus, and then let's get Hank in there and Trev.
No, honestly, I agree with the brother, man, because a lot of times we focus on the negative in anything, in situation. If we at work, with your relationship or anything, we focus on the negative so much that we stop doing the work on ourselves. So even with me, and before I got married, I had some issues that I had to work on, and then I noticed the more I changed, the more she changed with me. You know what I mean? So the brother was 100% correct on that, because a lot of times we focus on what the other person is doing rather than what we need to do. And then I told my wife, I was like, hey, you need to work on the things you need to work on. I'm gonna work on the things I need to work on. And then eventually things started to get better. And then now we was able to talk more. Things was able to be more easily easily, it's an easier relationship, so that's why I think the brother is trying to say. He might say a lot of words that might, confuse y'all, because a lot of times he long-winded, so he said a lot of stuff. So maybe, some of his things are probably contradicting to y'all in your brain, but that's the gist of what he's basically saying.
So wait, James, I'm far from slow. So it's nothing that I didn't catch. You understand? Because I listened with intention. You cherry pick what you wanted out of what he said. I saw his intention. And I can't tell you what you saw and what you chose to grab. You said we more so look for negatives. No, I look for truth. The truth don't need motivation. And I run with that. That's a guys that men blame women too much for what? You have a social contract to protect that woman in your life, and there's extremes. You have a wife or you have a girl or someone that you're looking to get in a relationship with. Nothing was missed. My brain worked just fine. My mama dropped me a couple times, but I'm able to see bullshit, smell bullshit, and get away from bullshit and wash it off. So you're not going to stand there and pander and use certain words like honor. Let me honor you. Come on, man, cut it out.
But you even listen to what I said. I didn't say nothing you just said to me. You said I said you were slow. I said I blame him. I said he said too many words that maybe
you said
it was
our brain was not interpreting. That's calling me slow.
I didn't say that.
You did say that.
He said too many. I said he said too many words.
Take a
He over explained.
You said my brain couldn't interpret.
No, I said that he might have contradicted himself in y'all brain. I didn't say that you wasn't able to.
So in my brain, I said he came in there and contradicted it.
What was his contradiction exactly? What was his contradiction exactly?
No, he said that. So
no, I said
I agree with James' point, because the way y'all are interpreting it. No, I agree with his point. The way y'all are interpreting it is not what me and James heard, right? So he's saying that the way that man worded this, it may have been too
different. He didn't.
No, he's not calling you slow, and it wasn't direct. Like we spoke about this earlier, right? When Shan was talking about he prefers.
When you say my brain, that's
hold on, let me get a second to finish my thought, brother. Just 1 second. When he said earlier, when Shan said that he prefers to speak directly to somebody and just get it over with, right? What the brother was doing in the video was he was delivering a message that can be interpreted by women as well as men, that can hear what he's saying from that perspective. So when men tend to do that, it's I don't consider it lying at all. I consider that softening the message and making it more palpable. But some men consider that lying and pandering, and that's not what he's doing. We got to understand that women communicate differently than men, and in order to communicate to them the way Shan and you might communicate, it does not work that way. So you've got to add different layers to add a feeling element to what they say in order for them to receive the logic in a way that they interpret correctly. So that's why I was able to pull.
You see, he's doing the same thing that James did.
That's what Marcus. See, Marcus, that's what he's trying to say. So, Kenny, James was not coming for you. He was just basically saying, well, the way I interpreted it is this, and you guys may have interpreted it a different way. I think you got your swords up, so you're ready to squabble and joust with whoever is coming for you.
I listen to what you say.
No, I heard. Listen, trust me, Kenny. He wasn't coming for us. He wasn't. But Marcus, when you say what you just did was you virtue sick, you was like basically, but I'm right, y'all are wrong. So you're interpreting it the wrong way, Shannon and Kenny. And what women need is this extra layer that y'all not doing. You mean you believe that that's what's necessary?
Exactly.
And that's
no. So
what we're saying
I do believe it's
right.
Uh-huh.
I know you do.
Yeah.
But the language that Kenny is asking is saying, well, that's what you think. Shannon and Kenny may think it a different way. There may not necessarily be a right and wrong because it works.
So what I'm saying is it's right in regards to speaking directly to men the way that y'all want to communicate. Like studies, you could poll the chat, you could ask. You say what?
I was gonna say depending on the man.
No, I'm saying I'm speaking on how women interpret things. I'm saying you can ask them what you got from that, and if they thought he was,
and that's the argument. That's what I'm saying. I think we're both.
Marcus, you can't speak for women. You just
said
how women interpret things.
Right.
But I hear your overreaching point, Marcus. I get what you're saying. Listen, and I know we want to move forward because I can see it in JR's eyes. Shit. I'm simply saying this. What's scrolling across the bottom of the screen is saying, do men blame women too much? And all I wanted to let you know, Marcus, is how can a man do anything if he can't find a woman to get behind him? That's all that I think me and Kenny is saying. You want me to lead, Marcus? There needs to be followers first.
And I
In modern laws allow the followers to not be led if they don't like how the leader makes them feel.
Okay,
That's
so
what's happening
and I get that point, and I agree. Now, the portion that I think people look over is what we're talking about is communication. That communication style, if you don't feel that's effective, that's precisely the communication style you need in order to effectively lead women. That communication style right there, the one he was using that roused people up, it is 100% how effective so one thing you will notice is the people who understand that communication style normally don't say that they're having negative experiences with women because that communication style subverts that experience that other people have. I'm not saying it's occurring or not occurring, but that communication style subverts that. So it may appear as though that the person is pandering to somebody that doesn't speak that way, but to the people who do, we like, no, it just works that simply.
Okay, Marcus, I was an English major.
We got to get Hink, Trigger Mike, Trev, and Nelson.
Yeah. I appreciate y'all dialogue though, bro. I definitely appreciate y'all dialogue. I made it more spirited. Let's jump to brother Hink. Hink, what are your thoughts so far, sir?
Well, look, I don't, man, y'all back and forth. It's funny. But I don't, a woman's not going to move me, man. I don't know how many times I got to say it. A woman is not going to move me. I'm going to move her. I don't believe in making excuses. I don't like excuse makers. So do I feel like do men blame women too much? Yes, sometimes. Sometimes they do. But I mean, I guess since the women run the black community, I guess it's normal for you to complain about your supervisor, your manager, your owner, since they own the community. That's what we allow them to do as men. We allow that shit to happen. Now we got to find some way to take the motherfucker back. And guess what? They not just going to give it up. So we got to fight them heifers in order to get it back. But as far as me, I don't believe in making excuses. I'm not gonna get with this woman like that if she's not agreeable, she's out of control, belligerent. No, that's not for me. And like the dude said in the video, if you see that early on in a relationship, either you're gonna address it or leave her ass at the restaurant. Why am I still dealing with her? I'm not. Some of y'all said, yeah, I'm not. I think my man JR said, I'm not trying to fix it. And that sounds like something you're going to have to fix or either move on. And if you don't want to fix her, then move the fuck on. It's too many of them out there. Stick and move. Figure out what benefits they bring, what's the ups and the downs. Figure that out fast, quick, and hurry. Don't waste your time investing a lot of your money and energy and pouring into a woman who's not worth pouring into. I'll leave it there.
I appreciate that, brother. We go jump to Trev. You didn't speak yet on this subject, did you? Got the camera cut away. Okay, we see.
Have not
All right.
just said anything just yet. Now I can say this. I completely understand the frustrations of Kenny P and Shannon, and I can tell you why. Men are devalued, right? We can't act like we had to do all this expert communication type deal back in the day. It wasn't necessary, right? And when you look at other cultures, they don't have to do that, right? Men are respected. Men are hardworking men. They come in every day. They do their ones and twos, and they're respected when they come home. We are required so much nowadays, right? Because our primary functions are not necessary in the West. We don't have to protect women. That's what we're normally valued for. We don't have to protect women because they got the police, they got the government, they got so many different forms of law enforcement and different things to protect them, right? And guess what? Society has created such a way where they can provide too. They are providing for themselves. So you have to do so much more now that you did not have to do back in the day just to earn respect, right? And if a woman doesn't respect you, she's not going to love you. She's certainly not going to follow you. That's why I could understand it's different now. And that's where the gripe comes from, because it wasn't always like this. Families were families. The divorce rate was not like this. People understood the hierarchy. It was cool. It worked, right? It was not ever to this level. So I can completely understand why men are feeling like this. We can't behave as if it was always like this, and men are not in a much worse position today, men and women, because neither one of us could get along in a relationship. But yes, I understand their frustrations as men and why they feel that. Now, this kind of goes back to Nelson's point earlier, right? When he said to educate yourself, right? And again, we're not going to say you have to be a psychologist or anything else, but during the vetting process, these type of things will help you if you can recognize, discern what type of an individual that you're dealing with. And the one thing I'll say is you have to understand how a female feels about you. A lot of dudes that like to play games and chase women and do the Urkel thing. I'm wearing you down. That's not going to be it. The woman got to like you off the rip. She got to respect you off the rip. She has to admire you off the rip. Don't ever try to beat a woman down. Don't ever try to earn her love. Don't ever try to do tricks for her. None of that stuff. Don't ever try to buy your way in. Don't ever lead with your wallet. She got to like you just because of you, your character, your demeanor, how you are as a man. If she feels like this in the beginning, odds are you could have a more successful long-term relationship. It's not guaranteed, because we know, I'm sure Nelson can speak to this, psychologically, women are capable of showing their representative for up to 2 years. So the switch up is definitely, there's a potential for that. So you just have to watch that. That's why you need to educate yourself. So be able to look at these signs. You need to make a woman feel comfortable enough so she can tell you these things. And that's why we have to speak womanese. It is what it is. We have to learn this language. It's just necessary for yourself. If not for them, for yourself. So you won't be in a messed up long-term situation that you don't want to be in and that you regret later on in life. That's why it's good just for you as a man. If you don't even care about the situation, for you as a man to protect yourself, to protect your heart and your well-being, you just psychologically, it behooves you to learn how to speak to women. And like Marcus said, the men who do know how to speak to women, know how to speak womanese or whatever you want to call it, fare well with women. Just because they understand, they looking at the signs and like, okay, I see how she get down. You notice it right away, and you're going to save yourself a lot of time and heartache. So just control what you can control for yourself. I'll end it there.
I appreciate that.
Another thing, what we us men need to start doing, just listen, pay attention. Some of us, we talk too goddamn much. We get in our presence, we want to hold the fucking court. Stop fucking talking so goddamn much and listen.
I can't relate with Jesus. I can't relate with Jesus.
Put them in a safe environment. When they get around their friends, sit back and listen. Don't go too far from the bedroom. Sit back and listen and pay attention. Get a couple drinks in her. Sit back and listen. Watch how she move and react and respond. But that's our problem. We talk too goddamn. Matter of fact, we gossip more than some of these goddamn women. And that's part of our problem. We talk too much. We don't listen enough. When you listen, you hear more. You learn more. You take intel. Listen.
I just want to say I appreciate the brothers who disagree, who are showing extreme stoicism and holding they holding frame in order to rebut this. So I just want to make note of that, because I know this is a topic that you really want to get in there on. And we're gonna get back to you. Let Nelson go, and then Kenny, did you want to say something else in regards to the subject? No? Okay. So we'll go to Nelson, and then if Shan has something to add.
Got about Trev.
Trigger Mike.
Wait, Trigger Mike.
So, honestly, I think both sides blame each other, but I think the men that tend to blame women excessively are usually in the relationships are the men that are not ready to lead a household, that um, don't get respect from women. They tend to place a lot of blame, and then are women that don't actually want to be led, they tend to blame men for everything. I was on a panel a couple weeks ago, I think it was, when we played the clip with the three single women that were talking about how much men needed to make in order to be ready to date. Like they're gonna be perpetually single because who do they think they are to tell men what position they need to be in the date? Like we're the people that are the loudest are the people that are representing our community that are perpetually single. So I think that men that get into relationships when they are already to a point where they're ready to lead a household, they might not know everything that they should know, but they're prepared. They will get a woman to listen to them because they're going to do a better job than most people of choosing the right person. And it doesn't need to be completely the right person, but a person that has enough of the qualities, that knows how to honor them, that knows how to submit, things like that. It might not look perfect, but if you kind of generally get in a direction, then then they'll fall in line with you. But on the other end, when you have men that aren't ready for that and they jump into a relationship to where they're not fully leading, and the woman feels like she has to come behind them, and now she's paying the bills, she's taking leadership aspect, and she's doing the things saying that she wants him to do. By the time he grows into that position, it's already been such an imbalance for a long time that she's going to have a difficult time trusting and relinquishing that to him. So that's why you see a lot of conflict, because now that men are ready to assume that role, it's hard for the woman to let go of it. But so I would say if you're in that kind of relationship and you've grown to that point where you're ready to lead a household, and if you don't have any kids and you're not married, then consider leaving. And now that you're ready to actually lead a household, date properly and find a woman that's going to fall in line. But if you are already married and have kids and you're in that kind of power dynamic, then yeah, you're going to have to lead by example. It's going to be a lot of arguing until she falls in line. And then eventually it'll come to a head to where she's going to have to make a decision. Either this relationship or this marriage is going to be over, or she's going to fall in line to what the direction of the household is going to go.
No, I appreciate that, Nelson. We got one more person. I forget his name. Damn.
Screw that.
You still the gender war general, or you trigger Mike, or you gender war general?
I don't know. I didn't take my meds this evening, so we're about to see.
All right, let's see what you got, trigger Mike. Come on with
it.
it.
So I mean, damn, this is an awesome conversation, fellas. Awesome. To the topic, to the title, rather, do men blame women too much? Sometimes I think the word blame is synonymous with accountability. So are we going to say that men make women take accountability too much? Right? So let me say this. I think that what may seem as blame toward women is men being vocal about women. And that is something that maybe a lot of women that probably are 40 years old have never had to deal with. What I can tell you is that every functional society on earth is just as strict on their women as they are on their men. And they have done it for so long that they don't have to be vocal about it. So it's something that we may have to be more persuasive, be more smooth about, but it's absolutely something the best men in the world who run functional societies do. They are extremely hard on their women. They are strict. They are unyielding when it comes to what they want to see in their society as it pertains to the first teachers of their children, the examples for their daughters, so on and so forth, if we look at it that way. That dude has some good points. He has some good points. All right. And the thing that I realized, every married man on the panel sometimes we think about it. The one thing I won't do on YouTube no more, these type of things, when in a certain context, it sounds like he's flexing. And I hate when men do that. It was like, if you a real man, you know, you get compliance out of woman. That's just like you're doing this very subtle, maybe not so subtle flex thing where I'm really tired of that. Because just like Shan said earlier, there is something called the consent of the governed. And these men have done men who have run great societies, what they have done is ostracized every non-compliant person out of their society, men and women included. So if we're going to talk ad nauseum all day on YouTube about how some men are terrible for society, how they're wrecking our homes, we have to understand that there's almost an equal amount of women doing the same thing. So it does start with our choice as men. If we want to create a functional society of women that will follow our leadership, that will teach our doctrine of discipline to our children, right? Then we have to, really understand that comes with a certain level of accountability we have to give to them. Now, here's the other thing about blaming women. We cannot give women the right to vote. We cannot give them all the freedoms they have today. We cannot give them the opportunity to make law that directly affects us and then say we can't blame them for shit. That's not fair. It's not fair. You can make a law to take my children away from me, but it's still all my fault. No way. So, this is a matter of perspective. It's not really a right or wrong to us, just a matter of perspective. And as men, we have the ultimate accountability for the progress of our society. And it starts firstly with the choice that we make in women, but it is also our responsibility to stay unyielding and strict so we can keep a functional society. But that's all I got on it.
So I'd be perplexed about the logic aspect, because logic would dictate the thing that we know to work or that works is what we go with to get it done. I may want to pull an engine with the hoist, but I can't get in there the right way. So I'll find another way to get that engine out as long as it works. My end goal is to pull the engine out of the car, not to do it in a specific way. I think this is a larger and deeper conversation, is the way traditional masculinity has morphed with the evolution of the working world. As far as strength isn't the prime indicator of payment at this point. So a lot of the things that traditionally would have put men in a position to excel in due to the advancements in technology and those things, it's a different skill set that we're requiring. We're kind of in a industrial sexual relationship revolution as far as what are marketable skills in this day and age. And I'm not trying to diminish and take away from the brother's perspective or experience, right? And I think sometimes even with that guy, I don't believe. So I disagree with you, Trigger Mike, when you said he was humble flexing. I think that it may come off that way. So all right, when you're talking to other people in your neighborhood about let's say the property taxes for your house, right? And you're like, man, these property taxes are killing me. I just paid $28,000 this year on property tax. That may come off like you're trying to humble flex on somebody when really you're just discussing what's going on in your life. And because I may not live in your subdivision and my taxes may be 4,000 or something, it may sound like you're flexing on me, and that's not my intention. You understand what I'm saying? I don't believe that was his intention, and I don't like when me and Clout was talking about the relationship thing. I don't.
But he wasn't complaining about his taxes, Marcus. He was saying, it's minus 28,000, but I don't have no problem paying it. Mm-hmm. He wasn't complaining about his taxes. He was saying my taxes are good over here, and I make the money. And if you can't pay your taxes, that's on you.
Exactly. You wouldn't know nothing about this.
That's not what I heard. What I heard from him is maybe me saying he complained about taxes was a bad example. Another example would be let's see, something that would directly correlate to this.
Let me just interject real quick while you think about that. The reason why I'm going to lean on that was a subtle flex is because he was also in the video that preceded this video, and he has an incentive to pander to women in different ways. and that is he said most of his clients are women. So that is one of the key like go-to things where it's like, I don't know what's wrong with these men. I mean, I'm doing it, you know. I ain't got no problem with this.
He gave how many clients he had, and also that. So he's trying to let you know, throw his shameless plug in there while he's trying to balance his argument, then also demean men with like a backhanded slap. But you know what? That's how I saw it. I can't tell Marcus or James how they saw it. But here's what I'm not gonna have you telling me I'm deluded for seeing what I saw. And that's what went across there. And I'm gonna do it in a calm voice because that really got me riled up because I listened with intent. And maybe your style of language, maybe I'm not catching. I'll concede that point. But you ain't gonna tell me I ain't see a duck walk across the street.
Right. So I just want I think it's fair to speak for me and James. We have no intention on denigrating anyone with that comment. Maybe the way our perspective sees that video, it's such a stark contrast that speaking from the way we view things, it can come off that way. So if we did in any way, that's not our intention. So that's we're not trying to offend y'all. That's what we're trying to do.
And I just want to say
I
that
did some of the things in that video, so I agree with, because I lived that video where he was talking about some of the things I had to work on, and it helped me help my wife work on and help us have a good relationship. You know what I'm saying? So I understand where he was coming from because I did it. So that's why I'm saying I'm not for sure of all the other brothers. I don't know y'all life like that, but I know my life, so that's why I was able to kind of agree with what he was saying.
So James, in all fairness, you cherry pick what hit home with you. And that's fair to say. You're allowed to do that. Everyone is allowed to have their perspective. But when he starts that, he did flex, and I'm going to stand on that. And then he's saying, and we reading the caption, men don't blame women too much. If a man calls out a woman, he's zesty, he's sassy, he's whatever metaphor they want to use him for, rather than correcting the position, hearing a man out, digesting it, seeing if it's valid, then dealing with it amicably. That's not happening more so or less today. That's all.
I think it's more of the YouTube stuff, because a lot of guys are having like different conversations where they just blaming women for everything. So when people hear some of these panels and stuff like that, like I heard a panel that people was talking about, well, she let me go in raw, so that's her fault. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, come on, like we got to take some accountability for the situation that we in. It was both of your guys' fault. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, but I think James just set it up for the next topic, man.
Yeah. Before we get into the next topic, I just want to shout out. This is now the car episode. I have heard the term solenoid, transmission, engine.
Ooh,
all right, all used as analogies. And I have a special request that somebody make an analogy out of the alternator, radiator, and bucket seats.
I have a teachable moment that I need. So maybe Kenny and Shannon can
not a solenoid. It's a solenoid.
Maybe Kenny or Shannon can teach me this. So I'm humbly asking, what is the best way for somebody to describe what they're experiencing in their reality in order to it might even be an attempt to validate why what they're saying holds something that should be taken merited, where it does not come off as them flexing. What can y'all give me an example of a way to do that where you validate that you're supporting the premise of what you're saying by this is my end result, or what's the word? Proof of concept. How would you use proof of concept in order to describe something when you're talking about these interpersonal relationships in a way that men would not come off as feeling like they boasting or bragging while still maintaining that it works?
You can't. We do it all the time. It's just maybe not as obvious. Look here, y'all remember going to school when your boy came in a new Jordans? He said, "Man, look at my Jordan." What do you think they're doing? He's humble bragging about he got some new Jordans, and you still got them ragged ass shell toe Adidas on your feet. The same goddamn thing. We do it all the goddamn time. Why we act like this is something new? Because we lightweight bragging and come on, fellas. We too old for this shit. You got to realize yesterday's price ain't today's prices. You understand what I'm saying? So I understand what somebody said was, well, the women back then ain't doing that now. Okay, well, We need to adjust and adapt. You got to adjust and adapt to the times, right? So my 75 don't have power steering. I'm like this the motherfucker trying to make that goddamn turn. But best believe I'm gonna do it so I can turn them goddamn corners. It is what it is. You got to adjust and adapt.
Can
I'm
Shan,
gonna brag right there. All right.
You talking
Shan,
about
Shan
what
and
they
Kenny
call that
provide-
is whole. They call that wholeflation, Hank. That's what that's called.
If you asking me if you put two TOO, it's all or nothing. When you see
Right on.
TOO, that's all or nothing. Men are blaming women too much. Men have to take accountability. James made a good point. There's too many of these guys that jump on these podcasts and blame women for a brunt of the decisions that they shared 50-50. When you put two, that's ultra, that's more. That's all or nothing. No, we do not. And when a man has a voice, he's thought of as sassy, zesty, and this, and you're arguing with a woman and they change the wording and they craft the narrative that you're the angry black man with all the steam in your chest, and you just want to have a common space where a woman digests, doesn't listen to respond, but listens to understand. And most women, in my opinion, do not do that. They typecast you as this type of person because you're trying to express yourself. Men are not supposed to be in their feelings and be able to break down and say, this bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
Or he looks at it a certain type of way. So when you're asking for it, the fair medium is to not use extremes like he did. Just that he was pandering, he was selling his business. You can't say, and listen, hats off to him. Of course, you're gonna try to get more clients. That makes you a good businessman. But I heard what I heard.
What was the extreme then?
Huh?
What was the extreme he said? I don't.
Are men blaming women too? TOO. That's an extreme. Yeah, that's an extreme. Just like you said, adapt and change. Okay. We've been adapting and changing to many things. Now, if one of the men on this panel comes up and says, you know, I want to be known as Jamisha, so we got to adapt and change. And then we're going to keep pushing it. And then we're going to keep going. I'm giving extremes. TOO. I'm going to extremes.
Who ultimately is to blame for the state of the community?
Wait a minute. We lost the right in the 1970s to tell women anything. What do you mean?
No, who ultimately is to blame for the state of the community? Are men to blame for the state of the community, or is it women to blame for the state of the community?
Wait a minute. It's not just one-sided. Yeah, okay. Yeah. You have to parse through that depending on what you're saying. There's too much gray area depending on what you're trying to pinpoint right there.
So you're saying it's okay. You're saying it's 50-50 and it's dependent on the situation, right? So
we could even say men, but which men?
I'm good with that. If you specifically, yeah, because I agree with where you're going on that comment. I agree with you on that.
But why are we trying to tell every woman what to do?
Aren't you the one that started saying that you set the precedent? So you are telling women what to do, or you're not him?
I'm not telling everyone. I don't give a shit about her. I don't give a shit about your woman. Trev, I don't give a shit about your woman. James, I don't give a shit about your. I care about mine. I control her. No offense, buddy. I got love for you, but I don't care about her. I control mine. Okay. Mine and mine only. That's the only one I need to control or make sure it's in order.
Okay, let me
go. If your woman's out of order, you got to handle your business.
Okay, let me throw a monkey wrench.
You better handle your business. I'm gonna come to you, bro. You might want to check that. You choose to do it, fine. If you choose not to, that's on you. You got to live with that heifer, not me.
Allow me to throw a monkey wrench in that. That woman that goes unchecked, that now is your wife's friend.
Another reference, Mike.
Okay, that woman that goes unchecked, who is now your wife's friend and in her ear regarding certain things of how Hank conducts himself, because you did not check it. Now she's there.
No, she's not her friend.
Wait. It only bothers you when it hits your door front.
No. She's not her friend. Let me tell you what I do. I evaluate friends.
Yeah.
My woman had to let go of a couple of friends because I didn't like their mouth, how they move, how they live, how they acted. So you don't need to hang with that woman no more. I check that. My woman's got to be in order, Kenny. I don't play that bullshit.
I got you, Hank. Now I'm gonna do the same thing I did to Marcus. Line up 10 men. How many men can check their women like you do?
Is that the woman's fault or the man's fault?
All 10 of them
Here we
motherfuckers.
go. Here we go.
Why can't you do it though? As a man, I'm gonna talk to you, dog. Why can't you get your woman in order? And if you say, man, she ain't listening to me, okay, dog. What you gonna do about it?
So
are you willing to walk away?
The reason
or you
I
gonna
said
stay there and accept that bullshit?
The reason I said that is okay. Just an honest assessment. You think every man is cut from the cloth that you're cut from?
No, they not.
Okay, so that means you're showing credence to what I'm saying, right?
They can learn it.
Just like the point I pointed out with Marcus the other day when he said his girl treated him and did all that, and I said line up 10 men, and then you tried to make a case for it and you couldn't.
So I think so. Let me be clear. One of the things let me just explain this. One of the things I try not to
Marcus, you talking to me, Kenny, or you talking to Marcus?
No, I gave the line up 10 men with you, and then I went to Marcus and I gave the same comparative as for apples and oranges, and it didn't stand the test. I understand what you said. You're gonna conduct yourself and your household the way you want it to be, and I believe it.
We got to get to the main topic, y'all.
Hold on, let me just answer this real quick because you brought it up twice. So you got to understand this about me. I am trying to be extremely careful not to offend people who are in the situation that they feel a way in regards to relationships with women. So if I concede something and don't blame men directly, it may not be me agreeing with you. It may just be me saying, hey, this one ain't worth it because there's a larger purpose. So to use that as a talking point that I couldn't line 10 men up. The truth of the matter is, since Hink already put on the table, it's not me bragging or doing none of that. The issue is those 10 men that can't do that. Because if your woman does not listen to you, leave her. Why are you having her as a woman? Move on to the next. That's what Hink is saying. That's what Dude is saying. That's what I'm saying. We're ultimately responsible for anything that goes past the level of us accepting it in a relationship. If you go get a car, we're not gonna go back to the car examples, but ultimately all we saying is that once something moves past the process of just dating to a relationship, there's you heard of the broken window policing. That's how the relationship should be ran too. And ultimately that's what I was pulling for what Dude was saying.
What you're saying is the trade-offs and compromises are comparative in all 10 situations, which will never be.
Wait, say it again.
What you're saying, the trade-off and compromises in 10 lined up relationships will be exactly the same if you had say about it, and that will never be.
Let's wrap this up with this. Everybody just can't leave. Like it's not. Some men are fucking in love with a woman that's killing them, and you know sometimes it's cheaper to keep her. If I do leave, I just lost everything that I've worked on for the last 30 years. It's not just that easy to just say, well, fuck it, man. If she ain't listening to your ass, and just bounce. I wish it was that easy for brothers. But I know we need to move on. Marcus, you asked a question of me and me of Kenny, and you said, "Listen, man, how do I not come off? How do I not come off like I'm bragging? You don't want to come off braggadocious about how things. Listen, the expression of your opinion, Marcus, you know, when you're intending to demonstrate your fantastic outcomes in relationships and women and all that, or your when you have like some sort of moral correctness that you have that others don't have, it's fine to say. How you can avoid coming off like what Trigger Mike was saying, and Trigger Mike was talking about the dude in the video, is to empathize with others who don't share your good fortune. It's just that simple. You know, I'm 51 years old. I'm in the gym every day, and I know that there's a lot of other 51-year-old men who look like they got one foot in the grave, fat, sloppy, let it go, and the whole nine. And I'm not gonna be like, well, shit, all you had to do was just do what I did. You know, you should have just took your vitamins, and you should have just ate this, and you should have put the beer down, and you didn't drink. I don't want to come off like that because they may not have the same good fortune that I have, but I'm not going to sit around and just talk about how wonderful my situation was and how I aged gracefully, and they didn't. Instead, I kind of understand where you're going through, and I understand the American diet, and I know those Twinkies was good because I had them too as a kid, and I know those burgers was good. You got to empathize with those that doesn't have your good fortune, and then you won't come off as if you just out here saying, well, shit, y'all just need to just do what I did. I don't see why you can't.
So,
And
but
it'll be a lot more palatable for men.
okay,
I
so
know
I appreciate.
You want us to coddle them like his mammy did? Is that what you're saying?
No, I want you to empathize with those that don't have your good fortune. That's what I said.
Yes, and I think that's we are way too soft than we used to, Shane, and you know this, brother.
I'm not soft. I'm not the soft one. I'm Drill Sergeant Shan. I run an army.
And
but
with
I'm
that
simply
being said,
saying,
I would. There's no way I'm going to go soft on this dude when I sit there and watch you. You want these rewards, but I see you knocking out that goddamn Twinkie. Now you eating a Big Mac and shit, and do you want me to be sympathetic and show empathy to your soft ass? Fuck you.
Yeah, because no, hear me out. If that was the case, because we're using food, but what about drugs and alcohol?
You a fucking dope fiend. Go clean up.
And it's not that simple especially when it comes to something that will get a hold of you. You make it seem like drugs is a decision for a lot of people. It's not a decision.
I agree with you. I agree.
Yeah,
but
you can have that same pathetic attitude towards a drug
No,
addict.
look at Lapeef, man. Y'all gotta wrap this shit
no,
up.
but because this should have been the main topic. But check it out. The thing is, in order to the true empathy is coming. The true empathy is coming to speak to try and give the steps to, hey, this is all you have to do to get to this point. Like if you see somebody that's overweight and you look at them and you be like, yeah, it sucks to be big. Those Twinkies be hitting, and then leave them. You essentially miss the opportunity to help them get past it. The best way would be like, hey, it's these trans fats are extremely high. I go to the gym on this way. This is my workout routine. This is what I do. These are the results that I got from doing that. Essentially, and saying it in a palpable way, and not saying, hey, you like I've never called nobody no.
I am not responding to you because JR want to move on.
All right. Let's go to get to this main topic. Hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get to the main topic right now. Good dialogue, fellas. Do more men need to take accountability for fathering their kids? Do more men need to take accountability for fathering their kids? Shan, this was on you leading this discussion. Don't worry about it, Shan. I'll lead. I got it.
A lot of the times men like to do that to dodge accountability. Okay. We both came together as two adults. Regardless if you were using me for convenience or not, then you made a fucked up decision. Then you were being irresponsible. Absolutely.
If I was honest from the gate, did I?
Oh, absolutely. Why? Because now you're tied in to a baby with me, but you didn't want to be with me. You wanted to have sex with me for your pleasure, but you didn't want to create a child, but you did. So you're irresponsible. And that's a lot of the times when we hear men talk about, well, she put me through child support and I'm in court. That's your fault. Just like you want to sit up here and point at women and say, well, this is the reason you a single mom because you picked the wrong guy. Well, you picked the wrong woman then. You picked the wrong woman to procreate with. Absolutely, that's irresponsible as and how it's dodging accountability is, I knew I wasn't wanting a baby with you in the first place, but you decided to have it with me because you was in love with me, shawty. No, but that's dodging accountability. There's two adults that decided to have a child together and it didn't work. So a woman leaving that situation isn't selfish, it's smart as absolutely.
How you not gonna let us get your response in there?
I mean, I didn't make the clip. Do more men need to take accountability for fathering their kids? We'll go to Nelson.
I think it's nuanced. I would say yes, but in the case that she kind of just described it, I think men a lot of times want to take accountability, but unfortunately, when you're with a woman like that, she defines what accountability is for you. So she decides when you get to see the child. She decides what activities you get to do with the child, what time, how often you can talk to them, things like that. Like, if that is the case, if that is the only way that you can interact with your child, then although you should be accountable for them, you can't really be accountable for them because you're being handcuffed. And you know, I see a lot of guys that have children with, unfortunately, the wrong women, and now unfortunately they can't raise their children the way that they would want to raise them because of that. So I think as men, yeah, we do need to take accountability, and there are a lot of great men that actively do that and are trying to do that, but we can't ignore the fact that women have, in those kind of relationship scenarios, women have the power to kind of determine your level of access.
All right. Go ahead, James. What are your thoughts about it? Do more men need to take accountability for fathering their kids?
Honestly, man, I would say yes, but I think it goes back to the conversation we had earlier. You know what I mean? She just put it all on him. You know what I mean? Like she didn't have no part in it. Oh, I just wanted to have sex, you know. So it's kind of we just going this back and forth thing, and we're not gonna go nowhere unless both take accountability. And honestly, man, this goes against us having casual sex. We got to be more intentional who we having sex with, because this situation, like, imagine, like, I know, like, she's like cool and all that shit. She's probably like a good person in real life, but how she was acting and stuff like that, I wouldn't want to sleep with a woman like that. Because imagine me having a child with her, and I'm trying to see the child, and then she up there jumping and getting all hype and shit, like she want to fight or something like that. Like, I'm looking at her like a nigga, like we got to fight or something. So it's like you don't want to put yourself in a situation. Like, we got to stop being so risky when we dealing with these women, because if we continue to do this shit, like, we're just gonna have to deal with these crazy ass women. And then now they're gonna be telling us, oh, you're not accountable, you a deadbeat and all this type of stuff, because you just want to have peace. You on high blood pressure medication, you on all type of shit trying to live because you had a couple of nights with this crazy ass chick. So that's what we gotta kind of realize and look at it stuff more long term, rather just been beating the cheeks and then just go about our day, man. It's crazy out here.
James, you know you want to call them heifers. You can say it. I give you permission.
I can't believe it, Jesus. I can't believe it, Jesus.
All right, go ahead, Hank. I'm coming to you. Do more men need to take accountability for fathering their kids?
Oh, hell yeah. I don't look here, man. I can't stand a deadbeat motherfucking man, because he makes us good men look bad. And so whatever means you got to do to get along with this woman, you do. But like James said, if you run into a heifer like that and you see her like that, why are you knocking her down? Especially going in that naked head. Look here, I know we always worry about the snotty old kids. I worry about them STDs this heifer got, because no telling how many times she was giving it up on the goddamn first night. I'm worried about getting some shit that penicillin can't cure. Fuck them kids. Them kids gonna eventually grow up and move on. I still got to worry about what she gave me. That's a problem. Them some dirty heifers out here, and they fucking like crazy. And they telling the dudes, you ain't got to wear a condom.
Oh, hell yeah.
I know that's right. So that's shit. I'm not, what, man, look here. Guys, if you get a woman pregnant, take care of your kids. As a man who didn't always have a father in his life, I know the feeling of not being around for a man being around for me. I know what it is. And I would never put my son and my daughter in that same situation. I couldn't imagine, and my brother was the same way. We couldn't imagine not being in our kids' life. Something that I helped produce, I'm not to be around. Now, I'm going to fight to the end. I'm going to get custody of these kids. Whatever I got to do, I'm going to have a conversation. Hopefully it could be cordial and respectful type conversation about visitation, about my son or my daughter come live with me, whatever the case may be. We're going to have to work this shit out. Yeah, men, take care of your kids, man. Don't be that dude.
All right, I'm going to go to Kenny. Do more men need to take accountability for fathering their kids?
It's funny. We were having a discussion yesterday about Pookies and Ray Rays. And I believe they do. They have the knowledge that they're going in and they're about to wreck somebody's life. There's a lot of guys that I grew up around that just purposely wanted to get girls pregnant because they look pretty. They purposely
what?
Yeah, purposely wanted to, like, just have a girl and just lack responsibility, not look at the repercussions that came for it. Boys will be boys, as they say. No. There are a lot of single baby mothers out here because men were very reckless. And this one I will stand on, that men need to make better choices. You can't fault that woman for jumping around like she wanted to fight somebody. You're the one that went and laid down with her, knowing that you went the full course, knowing that you went raw up in this woman, not thinking long term of being proactive. And we got to be held accountable on that end because we got to do a lot better. That's why we have these discussions right here. So yeah, a lot more men need to tighten up their laces and do better out here.
All right, go ahead, Trev.
Yeah, man. Hank, you made it a great point, man, because I know y'all noticed that viral video that's out right now where they had the woman who got caught by the Ring camera, and she took down nearly 10 men in the same day. So you just have to be wary of it. And I'm going to tell you, I know some women in real life. I talk to a lot of women, right? And listen, a lot of these women will absolutely take down 3, 4, 5 men a day, and they ain't even trapping. No joke. This is how they do it. So you need to protect yourself and be responsible. And they will look you in the face, and they'll have a boyfriend sometimes. And like you just have to understand that men ain't the only ones dogging it out here, man. Some of these women is going crazy, and by the time you get wrapped up in that much jizz, man, you're gonna have some issues. So you don't want to be the 4th or 5th guy in that day, man. It's gonna be a long. It's gonna be bad, man. Just understand that your sauce ain't the only sauce in it, man. It could be bad. So as far as men, I think that we should, when we are afforded the opportunity, and sometimes we aren't, right? I've sat there with some men, and they tell me, man, they like, yo, man, this is crazy. I just want to see my kids. And sometimes they are brought to tears. They want to be a part of their children's lives, but they can't, right? They're doing everything. They're paying child support. And unfortunately, the law is not nearly as strict on women as they are on men. They will enforce child support like a mother lover, but they will not enforce the fact that they need to see them sometimes. They don't really care about that custody thing when it comes to women in most cases. I don't know how they do where y'all guys at, but I know in Jersey there is very low enforcement. They can get away with a bunch of stuff. You could bring them to court, and there is seriously no penalty a lot of times with that. It's just like, whatever. Now, as far as men having to be responsible, hell yeah, we better be. We better be. You just have to understand that every single woman that you decide to lay down with, she can be potentially connected to you for the rest of your life. So when you go ahead and get that jump off, you have to consider that this could be my baby mother, and that's for life. And she might be the most ratchet whatever, and that's who's going to have the kids most of the time because, yeah, guess what? We push 90% of custody going towards women, right? So you just have to understand that she's going to be the one raising your child because you can't stand to be with her, or because maybe she already got 4, 5, 6 baby daddies already. You're not going to be able to do that. You're not going to want to live with her. You're not going to want to make that your wife. So you have to consider that when you going around with these bops or whoever, you got to be very careful because she's going to be connected to you. And a lot of people do not consider that at all. And it's dangerous. Anything that we can control, we have to. And you have to consider how many decisions you made. You made a decision to lie with a woman who is not in your category, or you had no business with. And then you decided to go raw diggity. And then you ain't even pull out. Come on, man. We got to do something, right? At least the finale, like something. You know what I mean? You got to protect yourselves. Your best bet is to avoid women who you can't see yourself at least being cordial with, at least long term. If you can't see yourself raising a child with them, then you got to be very careful. You have to make sure you protect yourself as many ways as you possibly can because you're at risk. Right. And your legacy is at risk at that point. So now you're going to have a child out there who you have no control over. You have no authority over. Like they can do whatever they want. They're going to have different values than you were raised in. So, yeah, we absolutely have to be careful with that. But we have to understand this, right? it's not most men that are behaving irresponsibly. There's a small subset of men who were guilty of this, right? There's a lot of guys well, not a lot of guys. There's a few guys who are doing it to a whole bunch of women, and they don't care. They will have a whole bunch of baby mamas. And I've seen some cornballs. Kenny wasn't lying. I know some dudes who'd be like, damn, I'm about to get her prego. Like they just really, just because she cute, they like, yeah, let's go ahead and get that, because a lot of times they might feel like she might be a little bit out of his league, and they'll feel like they'll have bragging rights to say that that's my baby mom's. And it's corny as hell, but it's a reality. And those dudes, when you see it, call it out, because it's trash, and they make the good men look horrible. But I do want people to understand, most of us are responsible out here. Most of us wouldn't be caught doing that. So I let it there for now.
All right. Go ahead, Marcus. You on mute just so you know, Mark.
I agree with Kenny P. That is all.
What?
All right. Go ahead, Trigger.
All right. My dumb ass sitting here doing work. Do more men need to take accountability? All right. I made notes as usual. I be forgetting shit. All right. So I'm gonna go full African on this. Men should have no say so whether they take accountability for their children or not. It's built in. Men are ultimately accountable for their children. Always. All right. But look at how we have changed that around in this society. Okay. So I want y'all to look at it from this perspective. Children are the biological property of their parents. All right. So which means that children are the biological property of their fathers. Do we treat it like that in this country at all? We don't. So it's hard for some men to take accountability in a secondary sense. Most functional societies, I'm going to talk about that again, the way they get the compliance of men is to actually do it in reverse. You tell the men that these children are your primary responsibility. They are your biological property, and that accountability trickles down throughout the society. Everybody's taken care of. The men metaphorically link arms to create an entire community, so on and so forth. So I absolutely believe that men need to take accountability, but I also believe accountability needs to be forced on them in the way I just explained. Now, let me tell y'all how this is gonna I'm gonna put a political spin on it. And I'm a part of something called the African Conservatives Assembly. And one of the pieces of legislation that's gonna creep up through the waves, kind of like the Roe v. Wade thing crept up and just dismantled it, is that biological property statement I just made is how they are going to dismantle the child support system. You can't make a man pay for his biological property and then tell him when he can and cannot see it. Right? So that's one of the pieces of legislation that's going to be creeping up in the coming years, and they're going to use that biological property narrative to dismantle that in Supreme Court. All right. So I wish as a society we treated children that way, to force accountability on men for the sake of the whole society. Because realize that anywhere there is discord, anywhere there is massive crime, anywhere there are large amounts of gang activity, fathers are not present. So the way that we need to promote that presence and function and education and advancement in any society is to promote fatherly accountability at all levels, at the highest. It's the utmost. It's the most important thing we could possibly have in our society. And I'll leave it there.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Shannon Rawls.
Most men don't have kids. Do men need to take more accountability for fathering the kids? Most fathers are married. So that's dwindling a whole lot of men out of that. Just removes a whole lot of brothers already out of the equation. And I would think it's safe to say that more than half of the non-married fathers are taking care of their kids. Damn, that brings that percentage down real low. I'm a numbers guy, you know, and I would say it's safe to say that most men who are not taking care of their kids want to, but can't. So that leaves how many? Small subset, like Trev said. But here's the thing: no soldier left behind on the battlefield. We recover all soldiers, dead or alive, or we all die on the battlefield. Nobody's left behind. So to answer the question is, should more men take accountability, even if it's 1% of a percent, the answer is yes, technically, because no child should be left behind, no matter how small of a percentage it is. I looked this up. More than half of the Black children live in a single parent household. More than half of the Black children that live in a single parent household, children who grew up without a father are 5 more times likely to live in poverty and commit crime, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in prison. They are more likely to have behavioral problems or run away from home or become teenage parents themselves. And the foundations of our community are weaker because of it. Presidential candidate Barack Obama, during his Father's Day speech in 2008, right before he became president. That same year, though, they did a survey, not a study. It was just a survey. Remember, surveys is just people asking people. Where they found out that non-residential white daddies were less involved than Black dads. And then 10 years later, non-marital births, this was a study, reported that Black fathers shared responsibilities more frequent than anybody else. And we all talk about that 2013 or 2014 CDC report where Black dads are more involved than anybody else. But if we go back to, should anybody be left behind? The answer is no. So I can't really say no. Fathers shouldn't take more accountability, because if there's one, that's one too many. But to be fair and to speak in reality, it seems like a question that shouldn't be asked, because predominantly men do take accountability of their children. And the ones that don't, more than at least half of them want to and can't. So we're talking about a small subset of people that's not. But it's a big question. It's like the loud minority thing. If 70% of Black children are born to parents who aren't married, well, how many of those kids don't have a dad today at all involved, where somebody got her pregnant and bounced? I hear the argument that, man, brothers should hold their homies accountable. Brothers should be mad for the deadbeat. I can't think of a deadbeat father. I don't know how many brothers y'all know I don't know how many of y'all homies are deadbeat dads. I can't think of one. I do know some brothers that's having problems with their baby mama that can't go see their kids, and they want to see their kids, but they can't see them. And the argument is, I wish more men would fight for the kids. Y'all know the meme. I wish more men would fight to be with their kids. And then the argument to that is, well, why should men have to fight at all? But you want us to take accountability. Even the pookies want to take, or the ones that are trying to take accountability, and they're not even allowed to take accountability. So if no soldiers left behind on the battlefield, then the answer is yes, more men should take accountability. However, in the reality sense, I think men are, and men are trying to, and men want to. They really do. Black men, specifically ages 18 to 30, 80+% of them want to have children and create a legacy. That's 8 out of 10 in a room. You think those 8 men don't want to have any involvement or any accountability with having children? They certainly do, but it's so hard when all the autonomy is given to the mother. So my answer is yes and no. That's it.
Marcus, I seen you put some things in the chat.
Yeah, no, I was just providing Shannon with some reference stuff so he could check it out if that was the stuff he was citing.
Okay. I think most of the people on the panel, I think everybody said that men should take more accountability. That's a good thing. I thought we were gonna have some disagreements, especially with some of the information that's being spilled out across some of these panels. So.
I don't think you probably didn't got one of the. Let me see who said something before. I'm pretty sure Trigger Mike done said this, but I can't remember what it is that he would fight this argument. Oh yeah, Trigger Mike, have you ever said that the women need to be more responsible in closing their legs, and if they close their legs, then they wouldn't have the kids, so it's not the man's fault, it's the woman's for not maintaining her chastity.
So thanks for putting full fucking words in my mouth, Marcus.
I don't know if you said it or not. I'm just guessing.
No. So remember what I said. This is a value. This is a value thing. So remember, the problem starts. So with fathers not being present or being isolated and not being able to impact their children. So I think it was Hamp that said he had a question. He said, even though fathers are involved in parenting, should they get most of the blame? And what I did was I looked at how good of a father I am. And I said, what would stop me from having this type of impact on my kids? The only reason I'm able to be this great of a father is because of the proximity that I have to my children. I see them every single day. I actually see them more than their mother does. I drop them off from school and I pick my son up from school, and their mom comes home at like 6 or 7 p.m. All right. So they're both here with me. And that allows me to impress on them, discipline them, pick up all of their behaviors, give instant and constant redirection every single day. Take me out of this home. There's no way I could be that efficient. It's not possible. So one of the things one of the statements I was making about daughters is that if fathers aren't there to teach the girls the value, their own value and self-respect, then that's the largest part of the problem right there. That's the largest part of the problem. No dude is having sex with women that respect. I'm sorry. We're not having this issue with birth, with irresponsible birth, with respectable women, with women that understand self-respect. Almost every problem we complain about is about self-respect. Think about it like this. Don't we talk about all these panels all the time about how these women need to respect men? Well, we're doing it backwards. We're doing it backwards. Find me a woman who has a large amount of self-respect that is out here disrespecting men. If you want to find a woman that's going to respect you, find a woman that respects herself. Find a woman that respects her body. You see what I'm saying? So, of course, we can always attribute the behavior to the Pookies and you got to do better, keep your dick in your pants. But this is what I'm saying. The strictest men in history have raised the best daughters and sons. The same thing you are telling your sons, you are just as hard on your daughters about. And that was my only message.
Sugar might want to ask a question. It just made me kind of think about something. So, in your personal opinion, for women, because you have some women that are good women, but they find themselves hopping in relationships, and they're still giving it up. But the thing is, they may not be. It's still a form of them being loose. They're just masking it within relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
So would you say that those type of women are respectful to their body?
That's a bit of a nuance into it. So there are levels to this. Some women won't give it up until they have a commitment. That's like a better level of self-respect. Even though we tell them to wait till marriage, realistically, we know most women won't. And what we've kind of we've made it acceptable for women to basically have sex with their boyfriend, a man that's committed to them, and in that same thing, they run the risk of it all being turned around on them in the wrong way. Because one of the things we do to men in this society is we always expect men to be sure of every decision they make, and that's not possible. So a dude can actually love you, live with you, but the relationship isn't really working out. He'll keep having sex with you and he's tarnishing you. This is why we promote self-respect for daughters. This is why dads need to be there. Be like, look, man, it's been 3 years. You living with this dude, he ain't give you no ring. Get out. Get out. Have some self-respect because he's going to use your body as long as you let him. Right. So that's really what it's about. Understanding some of the tendencies that men have, because I cannot for the life of me fathom my daughter just giving her best years. That's why we call it her best years to a man who is not showing his intention. And the only way, if it's my daughter, I can't tell the man anything. That's one thing we know about men. You can't tell him to do anything unless you take a shotgun to his crib and his daddy tell him to do it or some shit. But I can tell my daughter to have some self-respect because that's my expectation of her.
That was a fancy way of saying no.
Yeah, it was.
No. The answer is no. That she don't.
Yeah.
She's disrespecting his body.
Trigger Mike, how do you feel about my body, my choice era of the ability for women to determine whether or not they have the child and the man having no say?
I don't think there's ever anything, I don't think there's ever anything we're going to be able to do about it when it comes to a woman's body. What I think is these things are always they're psychological. So we need to start for men to, it's not fair. That's one thing. It's not fair for a man to have no say so over his biological property, but you want to make him financially responsible after the baby's born. Okay, so that's not fair. So you have to give a man a way to emancipate himself. If the woman is going to make an ultimate decision that affects him, we have to find a way to equalize it. And it's not really, because look at the topic. It's not really that we don't want men to take accountability for the children. We just want people to make responsible decisions overall. So look at the level. If you tell a woman a man has the right not to be on child support, boy, them legs go close like them legs go close. Like, no, I know it's your body, your choice. You could keep the baby, but he's not financially responsible. Boy, that's gonna be
Are financial abortions on your proposed legislation, or is that something y'all thinking about?
Come on, man. Do you think I would talk this candidly about this stuff and it wasn't already it wasn't already written down? Absolutely. And just to be fair, it's not a real thing. It's a psychological thing. It's basically this is my ultimate platform. Give women the equality they ask for. Society would go back to normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. The my body, my choice. They just missing a my. It should be my body, my choice, my responsibility.
Yep.
You add that last part, your body, your choice, your responsibility.
They have way too many things leaning in their favor. I know in New York, a woman could put you as a baby father on the birth certificate. If you don't respond in a certain time, you're responsible for that child, even if you're not the father.
California too.
You know what else is in my legislation, Marcus? You know what else is in there? Mandatory. So you do the my body, my choice. We don't get the financial abortion because that's probably not going to happen. That means the government might be responsible, right? They don't want that. So mandatory. Now you have to give. It's mandatory joint custody. You keep the baby for 9 years. He pays you child support. He gets the baby at 9 years old, and you pay him child support. boy, them legs gonna close instantly.
Mm.
And them women ain't paying their child support. Let's stop lying.
All right, y'all. We're at the top of the hour, man. Let me go ahead and get these super chats. Harrison Davis, $5 says salute. And lastly, Hink super chat on the show says great show, Jay. I appreciate it. Hink, I want to thank everybody that has tuned in today. It was an excellent show, great dialogue, fellas, and good way to hold our composure. I'm pretty sure the people that's watching it will appreciate it. If you are tuning in, go back and watch the replay and then make sure the like button is. Make sure we support each and every last person on this panel. You see their Instagrams, you see their YouTube channels. Let's make sure we support and we are watching and we are super chatting, all that good stuff. I want to thank the people that a couple people left. I want to thank you guys for your perspectives tonight again. And y'all make sure y'all have a blessed evening. And the people in the chat and the people that's not in the chat and just watching, y'all have a blessed evening as well. We out.